It's been like what, 5 months, and we're back yet again with a new set of Vivo V series devices. I'm talking about the Vivo V30 and the Vivo V30 Pro. And you know what? I don't blame Vivo for this because the Indian market, as always, wants more. Hello everyone, I'm here for Fiiber by India today and welcome to my quick review of the Vivo V30 and the Vivo V30 Pro. Now at a quick glance, it is very difficult to tell these devices apart unless and until you know the different color options on offer, and on the Pro, there's this Zeiss logo in the top right corner. In fact, both these devices, the V30 and the V30 Pro, are very similar but different. Hear me out. So while the looks of both these phones are quite the same, this one, the V30, is powered by a brand new chipset, the Snapdragon 7 Gen 3, which is the successor to the 7S Gen 2 or the 7 Plus Gen 1. I'm not sure about that, but the 7 Gen 3 is inside this phone with up to 12 GB RAM, up to 256 GB storage. Then both these phones have about 5000 mAh battery, 80 watt charging is there. There's a gorgeous 6.78 inches AMOLED display up front, 120 Hz refresh rate, 2800 nits peak brightness. Of course, I will talk about the high brightness mode later. And then there are two cameras at the back, 50 megapixel primary, 50 megapixel ultra wide, and there's a 50 megapixel autofocus camera at the front as well. So with the Vivo V30 Pro, all the dimension things, the design, the battery, the display, everything remains the same apart from three major differences. So the Vivo V30 Pro is powered by a more powerful Dimensity 8200 SoC. There are up to 512 GB storage options, and finally at the rear there's an additional 50 megapixel portrait camera, hence the Zeiss branding. This in a nutshell is the Vivo V30 series when it comes to hardware specs and features. But how are these devices in the real world? Well, I've tested these devices for a few days now, and while this isn't a full review, I do have some initial impressions, especially in terms of design and camera. But of course, before I go any further, consider hitting that red subscribe button if you love watching detailed tech videos such as this, and also turn on the bell so that you don't miss any of our latest updates. Alright, let's start with the design and build, and honestly speaking, I am baffled at the fact that both these devices are big devices, 6.78 inches canvas and 5000 mAh battery under the hood. Still, the Vivo V30 and V30 Pro are so damn thin and light. No doubt, despite the tall form factor, these are extremely ergonomic devices. Of course, glass front and rear, and speaking of the rear, the Aura light has grown in size, so the camera island itself is large. However, despite having the bump, the protrusion is pretty minimal, keeping in line with the slim aesthetic of the phones. One gripe that I would point towards, and I've been saying this for a while, so the fingerprint sensor is fast and accurate, but a slightly higher positioning would be much appreciated. Overall, the V30 series has a delightful design, and we all know that V series are known for their design, but these phones also deliver big time on ergonomics. Alrighty, apart from the good looks, both these phones offer identical curved AMOLED panels with 120 Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 2800 nits. That said, because of the different chips under the hood, I did notice a slightly different color tuning of the panels, with the V30 exuding a cooler color temperature. Again, very slight difference, and something that I could only make out keeping the devices side by side. Rest, the displays on offer are gorgeous. In fact, with 1200 nits of brightness in high brightness mode, the panels get plenty bright both indoors and outdoors. That said, both these phones have a single bottom firing speaker, which sounds okay, but again, for mid-range phones that will cost you about 30 to 40,000 rupees, I was really expecting to see dual speakers here. Alright, let's take a quick look at the Geekbench and AnTuTu numbers of both these phones and see what kind of a real world difference there is between the performance of both these devices. So in Geekbench 6, while the single core performance is more or less the same, it is in multi-core where the Dimensity 8200 chip, despite being older than the 7 Gen 3 processor, scores more and much in line with scores of a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip phone. However, in AnTuTu, despite posting 170,000 more than the V30, look closely and the Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 actually blurs the line with the Dimensity 8200 when it comes to CPU and GPU scores. That said, benchmark numbers aside, in the real world, there's not much of a visible difference in the performance of both phones, as both are fast and snappy devices. In fact, even when it comes to endurance, both phones having 5000 mAh batteries and 80-watt charging offer pretty much the same day's worth of battery life. But since this is not a detailed review of both these phones, I will be sharing more about the performance, the battery life, the heating, etc. in a more detailed review of both these phones later on. So of course, if you have any queries regarding both these devices, definitely write it down in the comments. Alright, let's talk about the camera now, and right off the bat, let's start with Manmeet's photo. Of course, two different chips, two different ISPs and color processing, and despite the V30 Pro's output having more vibrancy and saturation, I prefer the V30's output where the skin tone looks more accurate and the photo overall looks natural. In this other photo also, more or less the results look the same and both look pretty impressive, but just a tad bit, the V30 Pro's image is more contrasty. But then again, coming back to an indoor shot in not very great lighting, V30 Pro's image exudes a bit of yellowish tone, while the V30 has shot a pretty good result. Selfies also look amazing shot from both, but again, I prefer the more natural output of the V30. However, the background blur is surely better on the V30 Pro. And in fact, the V30 Pro actually exists for that superior portrait photography, hence the 50 megapixel extra lens with Zeiss color tuning. And here are a couple of portrait photos for your reference. So again, Manmeet's image, and apart from the skin tone, which could have been slightly more accurate, the overall image looks so impressive. The background blur is on point, edge detection is accurate, and the overall image just pops. Similarly, in this photo of yours truly, my skin tone has definitely been beautified slightly, but I can't deny, if I'm looking for a social media ready photo, it doesn't get any better. This photo looks so damn good, both visually and technically. Rest, a more detailed overview of the camera will be up in the full review video, so definitely stay tuned. So in my brief time with the Vivo V30 series, two things have rightfully stood out, that is the phone's cameras and design. Of course, that's what Vivo is targeting these devices towards, and I do think they kind of deliver here. But without making any final judgments, I would like to test these out more over the next few days. Because honestly, with so many devices lying around with us, it's quite difficult to shuffle around between them. But rest assured, full review videos will drop very soon on the channel, so stay tuned and I will catch you all in the next one. Till then, take care of yourself and thank you for watching.